Hey, hi everyone. Welcome back. So guys, as part of the previous session, we have seen a brief comparison between Git, GitHub, repositories, branches and everything. And right now, let us see a practical implementation where what exactly the code that we have prepared, let us try to commit our code into a remote repository, which means from our local machine to a GitHub remote repository. So here I'm clicking on a new button, which is clicking internally creating a repository for us. Just click on a new. So here create a new repository. I'm naming it as a Playwright Basics. Okay, I'm just naming it as a Playwright Basics. This is what my repository name is, and click on a create repository. As it is an empty repository that we have created right now, so these are the various steps that it's being suggesting for us. So you can commit your code using the terminal just by triggering these commands, or you can also use a GitHub. We have an editor wherein which you can commit it. But for now, let us go ahead and see how exactly we can use this command line commands. So the first command that we have is a git init. So git init is the command basically which is used to create a new git repository for us in that particular folder. So what we need to do, let me pull my code base and let me pull my terminal here. And inside the terminal, I'm using git init. Okay, inside the terminal, I'm using a git init. See here, initialized an empty git repository here, and that file is a .git file. See here, it's a highlighting. It's just stating that .git file. I have a initialized an empty git repository file. That's what it's just showing it up. Perfectly all right. Okay. So right now, the next thing, if you go to this documentation, okay, if you go to this documentation, this git init, and the next one here that we need to do is git add. So what is the significance of the git add? So if you observe, all these files are in your machine. From your machine, in order to move these changes to the staging area. So this is a staging area, and the next area that we have is a local git. If you remember in the previous session, we have seen that. So from your local machine, in order to move the code to the staging area, you just need to use an add method. And from the staging area, in order to move to the local git, you have to use the commit method. And from the local git, in order to push the changes to the remote repository, you need to use a push method. Okay, you need to use a push method. That's it. So here, as of now, my code is in a local machine, which is a working directory. I need to move to the staging area. Hence, I need to use a add. And if you look at this documentation, git add the file name, or if you can use a git add dot, automatically it will be adding all the files in that particular folder. So I'm using a git add dot. So that will be adding all the things. And if you observe here, the next one here is once this is done, from your staging area, commit the changes to the local git using this git commit. Prior to that, I'm using a git status command here to see the status here. So the status here, it is stating that, but these many files are there that you have created, the new files. Everything is being populated here. Perfectly all right. Okay, perfectly all right. And then the next step here is we need to commit our changes. These are committing from the staging area to the local git. So I have used a git commit hyphen m, my first commit. All these changes got committed to our local git. And right now, the last step that it is pending here is, as of now, your code is here in the local git. From the local git, you need to push to the remote GitHub, right? In order to push to that remote hub, first of all, it should know the URL for that remote repository. So here it is specifying that git remote add origin. This is what the URL of this particular repository is. So let me place that particular command as well. So let me place that particular command. So which means what it happened. So this is the repository that it is being pointing to from your terminal. Moving ahead, whatever the changes that you are pushing, right, all those changes will be navigated to this repository. And here they are asking us to set a particular branch. So here I'm setting it as a master branch. Perfectly all right. And at last, it's asking us to push whatever the local git changes are there, push it into the remote repository. I was just push it. And here it is stating that invalid user or a token password authentication is not supported for this operation. And here it is getting as an authentication failed. So the authentication failed here means we need to update our username and as well as a password as part of the configuration. So let us see how exactly we can update our credentials. Okay. So let us set the username first. So what I'm doing here is, okay. So what I'm doing right now, let me close this chunk. Yeah. Let me come back here. I'm just setting up my username. So here my username is Surendra Jagannatham. Let me hit enter. Okay. And right now, let me push the origin master and see here as and when I set the username, it is asking wants to sign in into your GitHub. So just click on an allow. As and when I click on that particular allow, it is asking me to continue. Just click on a continue. And then it is asking to authorize the visual code. Hence, I have authorized the visual code. And then the login is successful. Okay. The login is successful. Okay, perfectly all right. So we are getting some issue basically stating that, the push, okay, remote rejected, master to master push decline. So guys, let us look more about the error message that it is being populated. So of course the code isn't allowing us, but what is the issue here is you are using some API tokens which is causing some repository rules violation. The token that I have used here is, okay, let me show you this documentation that we have used for this Zira. So the Zira contains this access token and other details. It is just a blocking. So what I'm doing right now is I have already uploaded this Zira documentation anyway in our tutorial. So what I'm doing here is let me delete this file. Okay, I just deleted this particular file. So my repository doesn't contains this particular file. But what we need to do right now here is we need to commit these changes and then we need to push. So here, what I am doing right now here is I'm marking it as first of all, you need to add first and then you need to commit. So understand that. Let us see the status right now. As part of the status, it is stating that you have deleted this particular file. So as we have deleted this particular file, we need to add to that particular one, add, and then let's push all these changes. So here I'm using git push. As and when you use a push, basically it's asking you to use this git push upstream. So copy this particular command, put it here, hit the enter button. So if you observe right now, so there is a new branch that it is created in the remote repository, which is a name as a first, and the code got committed there. Perfectly all right. Let's go to the browser once. And if you refresh here, see my branch name is a first. In that particular first branch, whatever the code is there, everything got a committed here. And if you look at this particular test, whatever the test that we have created, everything is there in this particular one. So this is the way how exactly we can commit our code to the remote repository. The simple steps, guys, there are a simple four different steps that we need to do. Once you have written your code right, then you need to use a git add, which will be adding your files to the staging area. And then you need to commit your changes, which you are using a commit. And at last, you will be using a git push that will be pushing the changes to the repository. So this is the way how exactly you can commit your code to the repository, guys. Okay, perfectly all right. See you again in the next lecture. Thank you.